Hey Fidelia, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming by on this lovely sunny Sunday where it is boiling hot.
Yes.
Do you want to say something about the weather?
It's ever so hot because literally one of my friends put on Facebook saying, "Oh, it's warm today." I'm like, warm?
Boiling.
Warm?
Boiling.
It's boiling.
Cool. So for anyone that's watching this that doesn't know you, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I am Fidelia Brett. What am I? Who am I? A 42-year-old, 42 to be soon year old businesswoman who's got I'll say 1, 2, 3 businesses. One she's been doing for over 6 years, which is a consultancy business. The second one is a cleaning and maintenance business. And the third one was expanded to a property business, which covers everything property related. So from sourcing to development, property management, and cleaning and maintenance services underneath the umbrella. So that's what I sort of expanded the business to. Or predominantly, I'm more of a consultant because my background is project management. So in the property business, basically what you just do is manage. You're managing people's assets, managing people's time, managing people's money. And that's what I'm doing in my business, just helping people manage their day-to-day businesses or their day-to-day lives.
Cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into the things that you talk about so that for anyone that's watching this, because not everyone has the same terminology and understands the same thing. So I might ask you some questions that you think the answer is really obvious, but for whoever's watching this, it might not be, especially as some of my audience are quite young. They're still in school. So
good.
Could you explain what a consultant actually is and what they do? Or what do you do?
Okay, a consultant in a nutshell is someone who helps someone else solve a solution and find a solution to a problem. So why they pay a consultant is because 1, they've not got the time. 2, they might not have enough knowledge on what it is that you've got that knowledge base in. Or 3, because it's a large organization, they just want to do what they need to do quickly. So they'll tend to sort of hire a consultant to come in and just literally get the ball rolling. And they give you a time frame and a budget to work with. So that's literally what a consultant does. Your solution, you find a solution to your problem solver in a nutshell. Yeah, you're just a problem solver.
That's cool. And without giving away any big brand names or anything, could you give us an example of something that you have consulted on and something that you've problem solved for somebody?
Well, I would say it's a big brand name. Well, my last role was with University of Cambridge in the estate management division. So because I'm in property, the last 6 years, I've sort of narrowed who I've been consulting and working with because I'm in the property industry. So I was sort of building my own skill set as well as passing on the little knowledge I know to the team that I was working with. So yeah, my most recent role was with University of Cambridge, the estate department. And I was like, "Ooh, dear, Cambridge." I'm like, "Yeah, Cambridge."
Cool. Okay, and so how did you go from being a consultant? No, actually, let's go back a little bit more. So you're self-employed as a consultant, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And what made you choose to not work for somebody else and work for yourself in the first place?
Okay, let me see. I'm someone who I like to sort of set my own rules. And in a sense, I'm sort of like a risk taker and I like challenges. When you're sort of like in a permanent role, you're sort of given like a script to work with. And with consulting, it's slightly different because there's not that much script you're working with. You're just given a list of things to do. And that list of things to do needs to be done within sometimes a very tight time frame, as well as working with people who have probably never, ever done what it is that you're coming in to do. So you're having to train them on what they need to do. You're having to support them so that they understand how things are going to impact or improve their ways of working. So you're sort of doing two things at once, because you got this set of people who don't know what it is that you do. So you're having to educate them on what it is you do and what you're actually being paid to come in and do. And then thirdly, trying to work with them so that what you've been paid to do gets done on a quicker time frame. Because with them, they're like, oh, I've got my day-to-day job. Why should I have to take my time out to come and do what it is you're telling me to do? So it's having to work with them to not see it from an angle of business as usual, but more from like a project perspective of, oh, we've got this time frame, we've got this budget, we've got other people who are external to this organization, who, if we don't do it within this time frame, is going to cost your company money. So it's having to educate them and get them on the same line and level as your way of thinking, so that you can get the project or the program or whatever it is you've gone in there to do completed on time. And yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have to take quite a lot of a leadership role if you've got to lead a new team of people that aren't trained in necessarily the thing that you're trying to achieve. You have to get them on board so that they're moving in the same direction. So I resonate with that a lot, and that can be a difficult thing to do. Have you got any top tip strategies for leading a team into action?
Top tips. One is don't take it as because you know something, the next person as well is going to know up to the level that you do know. So you have to, so in a way, sort of lower your out view or your thinking pattern to their own level, because you could be on level 3 and they might be on level 1. So you have to come down to level 1, talking their language, communicating their language, explain things in their language, because you are a professional, you are a guru in your own field. They're not. They're a guru in something else, which you don't have that knowledge base as well. So it's having to understand that you all have to think on the same platform, as well as, and the second one is communicating, because communication is very vital and very key. With people on a higher level, like managers, senior managers and directors, or VCs or VPs, they could be on the same level as you, but the people who you need to work with are people who have to do the job and not of that same thinking pattern. So it's having to get them to communicate in the way that works for them. Talk to them the way you talk to someone that understands what it is you're trying to explain. Then thirdly is constantly giving them updates and progress on what's going on an ongoing basis. Because with business as usual, you might probably get an update on a monthly basis, but a project is totally different. Each team could rely on another team. However, if they don't know that another team is waiting on them to produce results, they can just sit on it and they don't know. So it's having to constantly keep giving them updates and status on where we are on an ongoing basis, so that they can work with you to get things completed and get results on an ongoing basis.
And it sounds like having strict deadlines as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have slips in along the way, because there's just stuff you can't do. And it could be that you're either waiting for the development team, and the development team might be in another country. And with them, the time zone is different. So you might have, let's say you're supposed to have had something sent in, like, let's say on a Friday, but it's already Saturday in that country. So when you're sort of doing a plan, you have to sort of look at where each of the teams that you're working with are in each country, and take into consideration of time zones, as well as everyone's availability when you're making plans, so that everyone understands what they need to do when they need to do, as well as planning it with the time restraint in each country or continent that people are situated.
So have you done a lot of international work then? Yeah. What countries have you worked with?
I would say what countries I've worked with. It's more what teams I've worked with, because sometimes you might be in the UK, because there's an organization I worked with, it's American based. However, the project we were working on was for Europe, not even for the UK, it was for Europe, and it had to do with a regulatory change. And it was a must. So the company had to sort of get people on ground in the UK to be able to facilitate and work with the team, both in Europe and as well in the US, giving them updates on what's needed to happen. So it was having to work with a bunch of people in different countries and in different time zones on a daily basis. So you should be at work, let's say 9 o'clock, but because another country starts, their time zone is like, 6 hours before yours or 6 hours after, you're in the office very early in the morning, and your meetings were all over the place because of the time difference.
That must be difficult.
Well, you sort of get a hang of it, because what you sort of do is you plan it that each country, looking at the timings, you sort of plan it that each country will be awake at a certain time. You might be having to stay up till late, but then no one is going to expect you to still be in the office at a certain time because you've been up all night dealing with people in another time zone. So they'll sort of look at your working pattern to sort of start at UK time, 8 p.m. And by 8 a.m. you're out of the office. However, you're not going to do that 5 days a week, because it's only going to be like 2 or 3 days, because it could be at that stage certain things are happening. So you have to keep on top of what people are doing. Then the other days you're in the office because you have to give people updates on where we are and what we're doing. So you sort of just plan your time, and you just go with what needs to happen on an ongoing basis.
Cool. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you.
So then moving on to your second business, which is a cleaning business, is that correct?
Cleaning and maintenance, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So how did you go from doing consulting into that?
Okay, so with the consulting and the contract world, is as most people might not be aware, is it's a job that when you get a contract, it's a contract for like a set period of time. So you could get a contract for, let's say, 6 months, and if the project or the program you're working on sort of carries on, it could get extended. But once the program is over or something else comes along, that program is over, so they can't keep you on. You sort of move on to another one. So in the process of sort of doing that, I sort of said, okay, I've got this bit of money on me. I just want to sort of do something on the sideline to sort of get extra money. And then I was like, okay, what is it that personally I like doing? And I said, okay, do you know what? I like cleaning, but do I really want to start a cleaning business? Do I have to be involved, or do I not have to be involved? If I'm hiring people, am I going to start getting calls that your staff haven't turned up? And so what do I do, or what do I not do? So I sort of met someone, and I sort of having a conversation with them, saying, okay, you currently have a cleaning business, can we partner up? And he took offense that I wanted to partner up with him. And however, but he sort of gave me some tips and said, no, he's not interested to partner up. I'm like, okay, fair enough. He gave me some tips, and I was like, all right, then what do I do? I just went on and registered a business, and I literally just started from there. How I started getting my first customers, I was going through third parties. Some of the mistakes I made in running a business, that's something I'm going to talk about on my YouTube channel, is I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have a system. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had an idea and I had money. Those were the two things that I knew I had. I had no idea what I needed to do with marketing. I had no idea because what I knew I could do was, okay, I could do the paperwork, I could do the admin side because I've got templates that I sort of converted, being in the industry I'm in with consulting. So I could sort of do like the back end sort of things, but I couldn't with the front end. I had no strategy, no plans, no process, no nothing. So I was sort of winging it.
Yeah.
at the start. And but luckily, my first client was someone just sort of half an hour down from me. And he was like, oh, he'll do it he wanted it on a Saturday. So I said, okay, this is a Saturday. I'm free on Saturdays. I started doing him myself. And so Saturdays, I work Monday to Friday on my consulting. Saturdays, I go do him for 3 hours and I was getting paid. And thirdly, I didn't have a price plan on how much I was going to charge clients. So with him, he just said, this is how much I want to pay you. I'm like, okay.
And did that work out okay? Or did you have to change it after a while?
Well, he stayed on the same price for 3 years. He stayed on the same price for about 3 years because he was my ever first client. And so as I said, I didn't really do any research to see how much people are actually charging, what area I wanted to cover. So he was my first client. Then the next thing was I now use a third-party software. Started off with because I was like, well, how am I going to get clients to whoever wanted cleaning? Then the next one that contacted me was through this software. The person was in Watford. And I was like, oh, okay. This is like 45 minutes away from me. Well, he's my second client. I went along and assessed, and I took him on. The difference with him was I was like, oh, because of the distance, I can't take the same amount like I did with my first one. So I went like £2 higher than what I did with the first one. And I still did not assess the market to see what people are really charging. So that was like another good mistake, which I made when I started off. Then I started looking at getting more clients, and funny enough, I was getting more in the Watford area. So I was now building more of a client list in the Watford area, and it sort of built from 1 to 20 to 25. So I was like, all right, then we sort of have this amount of people. I already had a member of staff on board. I was like, oh, I have to hire more people. How do I hire more people? Someone contacted me on Facebook because I put out an ad. I put an ad out. That was another mistake I made. I made so many mistakes in my first business.
Okay, teach us. We can learn from your mistakes.
I made another mistake because I was sort of going on trying to sort of get information. How do you really start a business? What do you really need to do in the business? I was like, okay, fair enough. I've gotten clients and I've gotten paid. I'm getting paying clients, but how do I actually get good stuff? Then people were like, oh, join Facebook groups, post stuff on Facebook groups that you're looking for employees and how much it is that you want to pay. So I was doing that. And then someone now texted me to say, you shouldn't be putting the price of what you want. I'm like, well, everybody else is putting their prices on how much they want to pay in these groups. Then they said, well, the people who are going to contact you are not going to be serious people. And truly, the people who contacted me were not serious because, one, some of them just wanted to have a tick to say, oh, we're looking for jobs for the job center. And 3, you sort of invite them for an interview. They don't turn up. As long as they can get a proof, an email to say they've been invited for an interview, they get the money they need to get from the job center. And so I was sort of learning the hard way because I wasn't really talking to anyone in the industry. I didn't have a mentor. I had no clue what I was doing. As I said, I was still winging it.
Yeah.
I was asking questions, but nobody was really answering me on what I'm supposed to be doing right, or what I'm doing, is it right, or what I'm doing, is it wrong? So I'm like, okay. Then 2 people contacted me on Facebook, 2 agencies. And I said, okay, listen, I need to get members of staff in the Watford area. This is how much I'm looking to pay. And luckily, the lady got me 2 fantastic candidates. Until date, one of them is still with me. Mm-hmm. One is still with me. The second one was only interested in money. After 1 or 2 weeks of working, she's like, oh, my money's not high enough. I'm like, but you don't drive. And the ad from the onset sort of said, you need to be a driver. And for you to drive, then we sort of pay a certain amount of money. So she was just kept going back and forth, money-wise. And I said, okay, if in my head, I was like, if I'm to start paying this amount that you're asking for, I'm not going to be making any money because that's almost what the clients are paying. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even up to a year in business, so I wouldn't really want to start increasing prices immediately. So I said to her that, okay, this is just less than a month of working with us. If you're with us for up to 6 months, then we're going to put you on a training program, because we're not just looking for someone to come and go. We want someone that we want to train and work with us and build and grow with us as we grow. Mm-hmm. So what we learn, you learn. How we grow, you grow. If we need to put you under any training programs, we'll do that. Because I said to her that I'm still out there consulting. So if it's the money to pay for it, I've got the money. Even if I'm having to pump the money from my other business into this business, that was what I was doing. But I'll say she stayed with us for like, well, I'll say 6 months or 7 or 8 months. But we're still doing that. I still had my agency lady, and she was the one I just gave that contract and said, you know what, I can't be bothered going out to look for staff. So she was the one going out and getting me members of staff, and I was paying her like a finder's fee. Mm-hmm. So that's what we were doing. And she just kept getting me staff while we kept growing the business. So I was in the Watford area, and because we had clients in the Watford area, we now started getting more clients around the Hertfordshire area. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, I was like, I would have sort of wanted more clients in the Buckinghamshire area, because I'm Milton Keynes based. Mm-hmm. So I was sort of like, okay, how do I now sort of start advertising to get clients in Milton Keynes? So this is another mistake.
Why was it a mistake?
I had loads of mistakes. So I was like, I have to advertise so I can get more clients in Milton Keynes and Buckinghamshire area. So that was another mistake I made, which was I went and put an ad on Facebook, because I was all seeing ads popping up here and there. And I was like, I was being told that, oh, ads will get you the clients, ads will get you the clients, ads will get you the clients. And I was like, okay, then I put my card on Facebook, and I was like, okay. So they asked, what areas do you want? I did not put down a niche of what kind of clientele that I'm looking for, what age range. Am I looking for commercial clients? Am I looking for residential clients? Am I looking for domestic clients? I did not identify that. I didn't really have a video saying exactly what it is, who my ideal clients that we want in the business. I didn't do that. I just sort of paid money to Facebook, and they just sort of put it out. So what they put out was an ad that, oh, we're a cleaning business. If you're looking for a cleaner, contact us. So I didn't even put the location. No. So I didn't put a location. So I had people calling me, oh, I just had a party. Do you do one-off cleans? I'm like, where are you based? Oh, I'm in Sheffield. I'm like, huh? So I had people calling me from all over the country. And I was like, that's not what I wanted. So if I had narrowed it down to specific location, specific age range, target audience, then that ad would have gone to who we wanted it to go to, but I didn't narrow it down. I just left it open. So that was another major mistake I made. And all I just, because I didn't have the time, I wasn't checking how much I was actually even spending on ads.
How much did you spend when you worked it out?
I spent loads of money, and the conversion rate was not worth it.
Yeah.
Because I was getting people calling me from all over the country. Then I was getting people then contacting me from India saying, oh, I can see that you've put out an ad. Are you looking for staff? Would you get me a visa? And I'm like, okay, another mistake. So that was another fail on my part, not doing my research properly. The ads did reach some people, but it didn't reach the right people that I wanted it to reach. However, we got just one client.
Okay.
One client at the back of that ad. Thank God for that. And we're still with that client till today.
Okay. And
so
from all that learning from the Facebook ads that didn't work, and now you know that you have to narrow it down, do you use Facebook ads now? But in the
I haven't used no ads. I haven't done no advertisements since that was after my epic fail. I haven't had done any ads since then.
Yeah. So how do you
so
get business now?
Okay, so I had to change the strategy slightly because when we sort of started off, it was predominantly domestic.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sort of still using our third-party software.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at the conversion and I was like, okay, this software I'm paying almost in a year, I was paying almost I'll say 800 to £1,000 on a monthly basis. And I was looking at how much I was sort of getting at the back of that, and it wasn't sort of worth it. I had a website, but I wasn't really using or promoting a lot on the website because it was just like a one-pager website to start off with. Then as time sort of went on, by the second and third year, I upgraded the website, and I think that also that's having more traffic. So another mistake again with the website. I made so much mistake, and that's the good thing about business is you learn from your mistakes. So with the website was, I didn't have a form attached to it. So when people sort of wanted to make inquiries, they couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way it was sort of set up was you call in or you send in an email. If people can't fill up a form online there and there, then they're not going to be interested. So that was another mistake that I sort of made, because sometimes people are sort of browsing through. And so I sort of said, okay, that's something that I needed to work on once I was updating the website. Then the more I kept sort of watching, I was just kept watching what people were sort of saying on YouTube or what other people were sort of putting out there on Facebook. And they were like, oh, SEO, SEO, SEO. And I was like, oh, but I've heard SEO is quite expensive. So I got someone, a freelancer, to sort of do some SEO for me. Yeah. The good thing was he wasn't expensive. So he was doing SEO as well as content creation and posting that on the business pages that we had. Mm-hmm. Another mistake. It's all about business mistakes that I've made, and I've so learned from it. All the content he was posting, I wasn't reviewing it because I didn't have the time. I just felt, oh, he's an expert, so he should know what he's doing. So he was just posting. And what he was doing was he was posting on our page. Then all the pages that I was a member of, he was posting on all those pages as well on like a daily basis. So all I was just doing was getting complaints. In fact, people just sending messages saying, can you stop posting irrelevant stuff on this page because it has nothing to do with this platform. Yeah. So if you want to promote your business, there's certain days you promote it. You can't just be posting. And he did not look into the rules of the groups I was in. Yeah. So he was just there posting because he's like, oh, I'm getting paid, so let me show that I'm doing my work and let me show I'm doing my job. So I didn't really even review what was happening on all these groups I was in. So all I was just getting was complaints. So I had to say to him, can you stop and just only post on our own page and not post on any of the other groups I'm in. And he said, well, those are the people who are potential clients. I'm like, yeah, however, I'm the one going out still and looking for potential groups to be involved in. But the groups I was involved in were for my own personal self, not for the business. So I sort of said to him that if we're going to have to post in groups, then we have to sort of sit back, review the various groups on Facebook, and have a strategy on what groups are in Facebook for us to join so that we can then post on those groups. But I don't think he did that. So he just sort of focused on posting on our business page on Facebook and our business page on Instagram. Then we were posting on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn sort of shut us down because they're like, no, you can't be doing certain things. So LinkedIn literally shut down. So I said to him, do you know what? Do not bother about LinkedIn. So it was Twitter, IG, and FB that he was posting on. So I just sort of said, yeah, carry on, but I still wasn't reviewing what was going out, but I just felt whatever he's posting is okay. So once in a while I was reviewing what he was doing, but I wasn't really giving feedback. And I wasn't really giving what hashtags to be used or what it is that the industry is, or people who are looking for our services will probably type on their feed or on their page. So I was not really doing any research. I wasn't really doing anything because I was in my consultancy work. I just said, I've hired someone. So I was expecting to be that person's job. However, I didn't tell him that he needed to do certain things because I just said, oh, I need you to post stuff and I need you to do SEO. And that was it. So I wasn't following up on what he and his team were doing. So after a while, I sort of said to him, do you know what? I'm just going to sort of take a break. I'm going to review where we are currently. I need to sort of review where the business is. And I sort of have to have a look on how I'm going to project things into the future so that once I come back online, I'm going to be more strategic in the way I'm doing things and how we are doing things in the business, because all we're just doing is wasting time, wasting money. I'm not really getting any conversion because I'm just paying money. Yeah. But I'm not getting clients at the back of it. Yeah. I was sort of getting clients, but the clients I was getting was because I'm the one that sort of reached out to certain people. But the things I was posting online wasn't really getting me the clients I was looking for. So I had to sort of shut that down from his own angle. So I went back and reviewed everything when I decided, okay, I want to expand the business. When we've got enough sort of clients to a certain level, I was like, okay, what can we do next? I had a discussion with a client, and the client was saying, well, you work with so many landlords, you work with so many property managers. Do you know anyone who's looking to sell? I'm like, what do you mean looking to sell? Like, yeah, if anyone's looking to sell their HMO or anyone is looking to sell their property business, we will be interested and we'll pay you a commission. I'm like, oh, can you do that? And the guy was like, yeah. So I now started looking into that. So I was like, oh, I hadn't really heard of sourcing before. I hadn't heard of sourcing before. So once my client sort of mentioned that to me, then another client came and said almost the same similar thing. I was like, oh, okay. And we're already in the business of working with landlords and working with property managers and working with people who are investors in properties. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to know? What do I need to do for us to be able to sort of expand our business? Because we're already in it providing cleaning and maintenance services to this sector. So how can we expand the business so that we have like a 360 offering to our clientele? Yeah. So I now sort of started looking into the sourcing, and I started spending more time on YouTube, watching other people's videos on what sourcing is all about. And I had one or two clients who sort of gave me leads. They gave me people's contacts, to be fair, and they were like, oh, it's easier for you, go out and get. So at the back of doing that, we got clients, because then I started sending out cold letters.
Yeah.
So sent out quite a few letters in different geographical areas, and we were getting calls back right at the back of a client giving us contact people's details. So we were getting calls and getting more clients, and I was like, okay, with the sourcing power, how do we extend the business to sort of cover sourcing or cover searching or whatever it is that it's called? But I now realized, okay, it's going to be sourcing, and I then realized identified that it's not as straightforward as they're saying on YouTube.
Oh, it's very difficult.
I'm like, it's not as so straightforward, because they make you sound like, oh, it's all, you get into it and you get the clients, you get the deals just like that. And I was like, no, it's actually not that straightforward. So I sort of said, I have to educate myself. I have to know more about what this entails. I know a bit because in the last 6 years, I've been predominantly working in asset management, estate management, as well as construction. Yeah. So I have a bit of background knowledge when it sort of comes to the industry in general, but I don't know about it on like a residential level. I know about it more on a commercial aspect. So I was like, I have to educate myself, because the last thing I want to do is make another mistake. And in this industry, if you make a mistake, that is just going to follow you for the rest of your life, because once you make that mistake, the next person is like, oh, do not work with this company or do not work with this individual, because they don't know what they're talking about. So I then started looking into courses. So the first course that came up, I was watching something on YouTube because it was sourcing. A company came up and said, oh, come to our free webinar, and we'll tell you everything about making money, making deals in the property sector. So I signed up for it, and it was, of course, it's free. So they said, okay, if you want to go on to the next program, pay £500 to learn more about the different strategies in property and property sourcing. So I paid 500 quid to learn what it was that they wanted to tell me. They did give quite a lot of information. So I sort of raised my hand and said, okay, based on everything you've said, what I'm thinking of wanting personally to go into will be conversion and development, because of my background. Because my background, as I said, is construction, and I've done asset management. So I want to go into conversions and development. So predominantly flips, anything refurbishment, anything that I'm having to do up. And they were like, oh, okay, do you have up to £1 million? I'm like, no. They're like, then you can't do this strategy. I'm like, why can't I? They're like, because you need to start from the bottom and rise up. And I'm like, so are you trying to say to me, if I want to do that, I have to have £1 million before I can go into development? And so they indirectly said to me, yes. So I'm like, so is there no other way that I can sort of learn what it is I need to know and probably raise funds? And they were like, oh, you have to sort of come onto the extended course to do that. However, we're not going to advise you to go into development now, because you don't have the money. I'm like, all right, then. So what would you advise me to do? They said, okay, you can start with buy-to-let. I'm like, okay, if I'm to do this next course you're talking about, how much is that going to cost me? And they said £8,000. I was like, all right, then. If I've got £8,000, why should I pay to learn if I can't go into development? And they said, well, you have to sort of start from somewhere. So you pay £8,000, but you still have to have like up to 20,000 or 30,000 in your bank account to go into buy-to-let. And I'm like, so basically what you're trying to say to me is I have to have a minimum of 30 grand to be able to start my property journey. And they said, yes. So I said, if that's the case, then that means I don't think you can help me out, or you can even work with me to find a way around things, because me working in the consultancy firm or being a consultant, I know that a lot of the organizations I've worked with, they might have money in their kitty, but they raise funds as well, if need be. So are you sort of saying to me that I can't raise funds, or I can't find a way of raising money to do a certain project, or find a way of getting a potential development project, which I might not be the one doing, but I sell it on? And they said that no, that is like the top level of the property game, and you're not ready for the top level. So I said, okay, if that's the case, then I don't think this is for me. Yeah, I don't think this is for me. So I think after a few days, they tried calling me back saying, okay, instead of you paying £8,000, why don't you pay £3,000? I'm saying, what does £3,000 cover? They said £3,000 still covers buy-to-let, as well as another strategy, which wasn't really what I was thinking of. I'll have to sort of get my notes to have a look at the two strategies that they highlighted for £3,000. So I said, as I said to you, what I'm thinking about is conversion. And they said conversion that you're talking about is HMOs and developments. Those are the two top of the property ladder. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want to do. That's why I want to go down the route. So if you can't help me get down there, then I don't see why we're still talking. Paying the money is not the issue, because I said to them, if I got £8,000 and I'm going to start my property ladder, start working in the property sector, I'm just going to go to Scotland and go put that £8,000 there, or even go up north to the northwest of England, and that can be a deposit, 10% deposit towards a house or a flat or something. So you're telling me I should come and pay £8,000 to learn? What am I learning for £8,000? Because even when I went to university, I know how much I paid. And with the university, it's like a lifelong learning path. But you're just telling me £8,000 is what I'm going to pay. And I'm like,
a lot more to go to uni now than it did.
I know back then. So I sort of said to them, no. So I kept looking. I then found another company, or another property guru, as they call themselves. And it was, with this one, it wasn't free. So I paid, I think, about 30 quid to join that webinar.
Yeah. And
I asked a question, and based on that question, I was going to determine if I signed up with them or not. So I asked a question, and the question was, let's say you go buy, let's say you're in an area and you notice a property and you're probably interested in that property. How do you get the details of that person, or that's the owner of that property, so that you can then sort of put your interest forward to say that you're interested in acquiring that property? So I asked, do you go to the land registry to get the details, or do you or do you go knocking on the door? And the response that was given was that, oh, you don't do any of the above. I'm like, okay, then what do you do? They're like, oh, well, you have to sort of learn strategies first of what you need to do before you sort of take the next step. And I'm like, but me knocking on the door, would that not be quicker than me even actually going to the land registry? And they say, because land registry is going to cost me money. And then they're just like, no.
It's about £3-4, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 3 quid. And they said, oh, that no, that just sort of learn the strategies first on what it is that you need to say and how to go about saying it. I'm like, yeah, that's fair enough. But are you sort of saying to me, if I see a potential deal right down the road, I shouldn't go knocking on asking questions? They say, yeah, because you need to. I'm like, I sort of get where they're coming from, because they're like, yeah, you need to ask the right question to get the right answers, which is fair. But telling me I shouldn't do any of the above and come and learn a strategy, then probably that property is going to be gone by the time I finish learning the strategy. Then I said, no. So that was another no. So I kept looking. Going back on my YouTube, then something popped up, an ad popped up.
Yeah.
And Sarah was like, gave her whole breakdown and saying that if you're interested in property stuff, come to my 5-day challenge. And I was like, okay. And the 5-day challenge was getting investors through social media. And I was like, in 5 days, I was like, that's impossible. And for me, I was like, that is so impossible. How can you get investors through social media in 5 days? So I sort of said, no, I have to sign up for this. And this is like unbelievable. And one, I don't use social media that much. I only use social media for my personal life. I might have a business page, but I don't use it. I don't monitor it. I don't get involved in social media as much as I should. So going on to that 5-day challenge, it was a real eye opener. And most of the questions I was asking was being answered. And she was like, things that you were like, you think you should do. And it was like, no. And the question I asked the same question as like, if I see a property around the corner from where I live, should I go knocking on the door? And she said, yes, because that is where you're going to get the information from. Because if the vendor lives in there, that vendor can tell you their whole life history, why they're looking to sell or not sell. Mm-hmm. Then you have more information, because they might be looking to sell maybe in a year or two time, but in 2 years time. So if that vendor comes and says to you, oh, if you're looking to buy, this is my details, whenever, contact me, at least they don't have to pay an agent for that. You already taken one foot into the door. And that was the response she gave to me. And I'm like, I need someone that's actually going to listen to what I'm asking and be there to support. And that was the reason why I was quite impressed. So I signed up for the program with Sarah's company. And I sort of asked another question saying, I don't really want to get into a program where I'm just bombarded with information or templates, and no one is there to hold your hand, and no one is there to support you. No one is there to sort of cheer you up and sort of tell you what you're doing is right or wrong, because that's the most important thing I need. I've already made mistakes in my business at the startup with the property side. I don't want to make that mistake, because that could impact the whole brand, which is what I wanted to avoid. So I wanted to be able to have a mentor from the onset, get someone that would support, or have a community of people that was going to support to make sure that you're doing things the right way. And if you're having any challenges, they're there. And yeah, so that's why I signed up for Sarah.
We only have like 1 minute left. Because I have a networking event in 5 minutes, which you are invited to. We got like 1 minute left, but I feel like you have so much more to say. I don't want to cut you short. Tell us about, how is your property business going now that you've started your new property training?
It's going okay, because what I've been doing is reaching out to potential investors, telling them who I am, what I do. So what I'm trying to do is get investors on board first before I go out and start finding deals. I didn't want to get deals and start looking for people to sell it to. I wanted to get investors, then use their money to go out and get deals. So it is going, yeah, great.
Good, excellent. Okay, right, I'm sorry to rush you. I feel really bad now. If you had to give one message out to, if there was a young person interested in getting into business in general, what would be your top tip for them?
I have 3 tips.
Okay.
One.
I'm prepared for this. Go on. One.
Oh yeah. Oh, because I actually did something similar, but I had 7 tips on mine.
Okay.
One tip is having your idea. You need to test it. You need to test it in the market. Mm-hmm. 2, test it with people who are in the industry that you want to start that business in. Then they can give you ideas of yes, no, because they're already in the industry, so they can steer you in the right direction. Have a mentor behind you when you start, and have your strategy and your system in place. And always keep an eye on finance.
Excellent. Was that the 7? That wasn't 3. That was more than 3. But that was good because that's lots more tips than I asked for. So that's just extra bonus points for you. Okay.
It is.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. And hopefully everyone got a lot out of your experiences. You've shared a lot of what didn't go very well, but lots of people can learn from that. And you've obviously learned from that yourself when you're still growing your businesses.
I am.
So keep going. And we'll see you later. And hopefully you can jump on the networking at 5 if you're free. All right.
Okay. All right then.
Cool. See you later.
Bye. Bye. Bye everyone.